1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, for far too long, the objectivity of science has been effective, but a limiting strategy of the animal rights movement in order to forward their agenda. Their agenda of protecting animals, their agenda of conservatism, and their agenda of being able to make other swaths of people, institutions, and organizations care or at least be interested in animal conservatism. That is to say, we think that this is particularly a debate about strategy in terms of being able to understand how they can improve their approaches and be able to help these particular animals in as much as there are a multitude of religions and diversity. A few features of our model which we think are relevant for this debate. Number 1, you read the info slide, but we broadly have to understand that there are going to be some religions who are against an animal, there are some religions who are for an animal, but in terms of reasoning, because we think that the animal rights movement will be able to frame this strategy, what we are going to say is that, bro, you might think snakes are bad and evil. You might think that black cat is of bad luck. However, in the name of plurality and religious diversity, don't eat them, don't hunt them, and don't hurt them. Similar to how in status quo, a lot of these religions do coexist and can coexist. Because we also have to understand that on the comparative, sticking to things like objectivity, sticking to things like statistics, and sticking to things which are just a rational campaign can only work and stick on actors who have a rational capacity to be able to understand the problem. So this debate is uniquely about how we can co-opt the multitude and complexity of religion amidst in a diverse society to add it to the arsenal of the movement. The second part of framing is that absent this advocacy, and this is a preemption of what the other side might say, is that even if we don't include it in our messaging, they're likely to do it either way, right? Like Filipinos up north are probably gonna continue to eat dogs and stuff if they really are hungry and desolate. And maybe some extreme minority religions will be so overwhelmed at that omen and continue to hunt snakes. But we think that the exclusive delta you get on our side is that there's going to be a marginally less harm and impact for these particular animals out large in the biodiversity. That is to say, these particular religious communities, assuming that they're rational, they also have an interest. They also have an interest of not engaging in tribal conflict. They also have an interest to not get into religious conflict or war over a fucking snake, precisely because they're aware of the backlash that can have to their particular community, and all these other norms and beliefs that the animal rights movement and the religious community has in status quo are going to be able to thrive. So I think it's extremely unlikely that, oh my God, religions will go to war over snakes in the forest because people are so scared about their spirits. They're likely to exercise a degree of rationality and second guess before they go out and hunt them. The third feature is that this is not the primary strategy we're going to use. This is something that we're going to co-opt. That is to say, the animal rights movement have brains, they have PR and marketing teams all across the world, and it's going to be a data-driven approach. If these people are a bit more rational, and instead of harping on religion, we want to talk about statistics and the effect on their ecosystem or on their economy or on the biodiversity of those flora and fauna which affect animals, then we're simply going to do it. But in instances where these people can be swayed because perhaps they're more on the left, liberal, and progressive side of things, and we can weaponize that against the religion in terms of being able to say, hey man, I know that these things are very dear to you, but you guys also need to understand religion is largely a protected attribute. That is to say, I know that that snake medyo malas in your religion, but you also have to understand that other religion, they look at it as a god. So if you don't want to get into unnecessary religious and tribal conflict, you don't have to hunt it down, even if historically it's part of your religion. Ladies and gentlemen, we from Side Proposition believe that this is uniquely a debate about strategy, and that in terms of effectiveness, this is going to be good, and in terms of practicality, including it in the arsenal is going to be strategic. A few impacts on our side, because a lot of the framing I mentioned also serves as standing positive material. The first thing I have to say is that the more conservative and maybe right-leaning the religion is, these are the people who we also have to get in our side. These people you call bigots, these people who don't give a shit about particular animals or believe their selfish hunting capitalist interests are more important, these are the people we're gonna target. Because quite frankly, on Side Proposition, we don't care what the reason is that these people stop hunting those wolves, because in status quo, they want to hunt them and put it in their wall so they can flex and feel more like a man about it. But if we're able to weaponize and use tactically specific parts about the religion and remind them that that wolf in the forest you're trying to hunt not only is endangered, but is also potentially a reincarnation of your great-grandmother, then that potentially will have an impact for that person to not necessarily just go out and lynch that particular being. The second is, for those particular individuals who are moderate and maybe not adhering to any kind of religion, are going to be excited to know more about all of these different things and truly be able to make an informed decision. Make no mistake, we think that on our side, animals are still going to be harmed and extreme harmed if that could still happen. But at least the net impact could even out, because for every crazy minority you have who wants to harm them, you conversely have another one who wants to protect them. And for all of these reasons, we are very happy and proud to open this debate on Side Proposition. Thank you.